What is going on, everybody? This is Lukey Boy. Today we're doing part 2 of the 0.4 ETH to 1 ETH challenge. Just going to go over some thoughts, some understandings behind what we're doing, a little bit of a follow-up, just to give you a bit more scope and understanding of what we're trying to achieve and stuff to do with like timeframes, recording the data to analyze. So let's just get started, and obviously I'll dive into that shortly. So we started this about a month ago, right? About, I don't know, 5.5 weeks ago. And we started off very, very easy and light because you don't need to be aggressive in a bear market. You don't need to be aggressive. There are obviously opportunities, and sometimes there's more than others. So, for example, in the last couple of weeks, there's been more than there was in the previous 3 weeks before that. Okay, so you're going to have waves of where things are better, where things are worse, where things are euphoric, where things are terrible, and almost trading is almost not possible. You're going to have all the different kind of phases of that through time. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be making money consistently every month. Yeah, of course, that's beautiful and great in the ideal world, but it isn't always reality because sometimes there is just not a lot of movement within the NFTs. And if there is, it's on a very select few that you have to almost get lucky on to be part of that. If there's 1,000 NFTs and there's only 6 that are doing well, or 20, obviously, yes, you could get lucky and pick one of those 20, but it's probably more likely you're going to pick another one because there's obviously so many there that are good that you want to try to flip. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is just move my fat head just here so you can see it all. Now, I haven't done a lot of trades. This is obviously just this account is just for doing the flip challenge, and this is literally how it looks after, I don't know, 6 weeks. Pretty small, to be honest, yeah? But it doesn't necessarily have to obviously be fast, like I said, depending on what's going on. So, what you'll see, I've got some data on another tab here, but what you'll see is right at the beginning here, there was less activity in the overall NFT market. And more recently, there's been a lot more activity. Now, again, that is subjective as well, because obviously with 0.4 ETH or whatever I've now got, it's only so much I can do within the market as I've got a small balance. But what you need to think as well is the compound effect. Just think of it like an Amazon business, the compounding. If you've got 300 quid and you can make £80, great. But, in the grand scheme of things, £80 is not going to make or break your life, right? But if you're then scaling that to say 3,000, how much can you now make? £800. Okay. See? So that's the thought process you've got to have when you're starting this challenge, because, for example, 0.4 to 1 ETH, then you can do a 1 ETH to 2 ETH challenge. Do you see how that jump is getting higher? Yeah. And obviously the amount of money from 1 ETH to 2 ETH is far more than 0.4 to 1 ETH, and so on and so on. You can scale that over time. But of course, you don't want to rush and obviously lose your money. You want to take your time, and you also want to be aware that the compound effect will be there in the future. And there might be periods of a month where you may not even trade. This is not about making the money now as such. It's about where can I make this money go within the next year. And then especially if there's a bit of a bull run, if there's a bit of a bull run, everything is moving a lot faster, and therefore you'll be able to do 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times the amount of trades within that same period. And so yeah, as you can see here, the fuck avatars were the ones that I did at the beginning, and then one more recently is this Max Payne and Friends by Xcopy, which obviously is one that is a slightly larger value flip rather than these that are smaller. Now, there's no right strategy for this, for example. Do you focus on the ones that have a higher value, or do you focus on the ones that have a smaller value where you can get more? It doesn't matter too much. Obviously, you have to be aware of volume. So there's only like 6 selling a day, even if it's going a little bit euphoric and there's 30. If you've got 40 of these, there's only you probably won't be able to sell them all. If you've got one, obviously your money's tied up in one, so you have to, that NFT project has to be moving to release any of your funds, because if it's all stuck in here. But yeah, it's just something to really be aware of, because you need to actually obviously understand the difference in terms of the strategy implemented behind it. So we're just going to jump onto here, and I'm going to give you a little bit of an understanding of what's going on, right? So as you can see here, now I want to make sure that's actually correct. Is that right? Returns 0.04. Yeah, it's fine. This is just a little bit of a breakdown. It doesn't really matter about the profits and stuff, because we're not worried about the profits right now. In dollars, 186. Not that, nothing for 6 weeks work, right? But what we're trying to establish from the ground up, from the foundations up, is the compound effect over time. That is where that's what we're trying to do with this. So once I've completed this challenge, I can move on to the next challenge, and just keep going. Obviously, at some point you might want to take profits, or you might want to dilute that risk down, so you're not, if you've got 50 ETH, you don't want to just keep going forever. But really, it's not about the profits we're making or the trades we're making so much at the moment. It's about that getting that momentum, getting that confidence, understanding the projects and how they work. Because when you're obviously investing in something, you're very mindful of how this, how the project is secondary sales, for example, is doing. I'll go into that in a minute. So what we want to obviously see here, right, is something like this. This is actually what really is the important aspect of this. We're looking at the net margin. So you can actually see that the actual net margin, or basically the money back that I'm getting, the profit percentage compared to the buy price, is obviously a lot higher than the one I've just done, because obviously this was a much higher NFT purchase. Obviously it brings me almost double the profit, but the net margin is smaller. So, that doesn't actually mean it's better, because, for example, the profit of all of these combined is $127, on 4. And obviously the buy price on all of these was 0.24, where this is double. So I'm getting double the profit here than this one, you see, because obviously the purchase price is half. But in one transaction, that's higher. So something to bear in mind. How do you want to? These are little bits of information that you want to build up in your mind. But the duration of how long it took me to actually do that was 4 days. Okay. Where some of these, well, the average is around 14 days, right? That was 4, that was 20, there's a 14. Let's just say the average is 14. So yes, the return on this one's lower, but I'm able to do it in 4 days. That could just be a one-off. It might not be that that's possible throughout, but it might be that if I can make this much 3 times, I can basically do that trade 3 times, where the average of these is 14. Actually, 3 times would be less than the average of these. You want to give me the average? No, it doesn't matter. Then maybe it's worth doing this one. Yeah, it's a little bit more of a capital expenditure cost at the beginning to buy this. But if it's 4 days for this much, well, then I can actually get 3 times that in about 14 days. In a month, I could get 6 times, $300. Then you start thinking, that's not too bad. $300 a month, one off $300 is not going to change your life. Again, like we said. But if you then are able to maybe buy 2 of these, because you obviously keep making that profit, and within a month and a half, 2 months, you're able to buy 2 of these and do the same thing if the project allows you to. Again, like I said, the more you buy of it, the more you obviously have to get people to buy it. So it's just something to bear in mind. Then on another side note, this is what I'll show you, because this took me 4 days, right, for that price to sell. Well, if we jump over to here, this is not it, by the way. This is just one I always like to see click into stuff randomly. So this is the project. So I sold mine for 0.61, right? You can see here. We jump over into here and go to activity. So I've bought and sold mine within 4 days, which is pretty good, right? But if you actually look, so I'll show you where my buy was here. So what we want to identify is, could I have flipped that in 1 day or 2 days, but then actually made more profit over, say, an average of 4 days? Do you kind of get what I mean? So for example, I bought it for this and I was holding out for 0.6 something. Yeah. And you can see there, I obviously sold it here. Well, if you look beforehand, 0.6 was quite often 0.61, 0.59, 0.6, 0.6, it kind of fluctuates around that 0.6. And if someone is a little bit cheaper than me, then they might get that, say, like if they're literally, you can see here, this one, I'm actually like a 20 cents cheaper, because I basically purposely put mine 20 cents cheaper to be cheaper than this guy. That's why I sold mine first over this guy. So you need to see, like, is that small difference worth me getting out of the trade 2 hours earlier? Maybe, maybe not. Yeah, but you're getting your funds back 2 hours earlier. So what does that mean? You can start trading earlier, and obviously the more trades you can get in a period of time, the more money you make. Okay, so let's have a look again into this. This is 12 hours ago. Well, I sold mine for $815. Okay, so we go down. Well, this person sold his 3 days ago for the same price. But so why didn't I sell mine then 3 days ago? Because obviously I bought mine here. Well, wouldn't it have been better to get out of that, even if it, around that price 3 days ago? Because then I could have potentially bought another one of these and then sold that one at the same time I actually sold mine recently. So I could have had 2 trades buying. Not to say that's always going to work. So you've obviously got to. There's obviously many exchanges happening. Someone's got to buy it twice, and you've got to buy it twice as well, rather than buying it once and selling it once. I get that, but it's more about the long-term probability, because what you could do is you can go, okay, this guy sold it 3 days ago for here. Well, actually, I mean, that guy got it for ridiculously cheap. I don't know what happened there. But what you want to do is you want to go, okay, well, where were the bids accepted? The bids were like 0.55. So maybe you couldn't have done 2 trades, but what we're trying to get, the point is that if I have that funds available 3 days before, and I'm basically selling it down here, while I have money now, I can withdraw it, I can do stuff with it, I can buy other projects, and I can potentially buy another one of these and flip it again in that period of time, even if it takes another day or 2 days. But if you add that up over like a year, obviously the profit by flipping over something more often is going to be better, even if the actual return is a little bit less per single transaction. But in this case, actually, I priced mine a little bit higher. So even though you can see mine at 0.61, I had mine at 0.6249. So you can see here, the ones that actually sold for 0.61, is there only one? It doesn't really matter if there's only one, because I could have been more competitive and actually had that sale. Even at 0.6, it's like I could have got many 0.6s. Even that one was 0.2, which is more. But there was many that were around that 0.6, 0.61. But I was a little bit higher than all that because I wanted to get a little bit of a premium. So by me wanting a small premium on top, which is not going to make or break the trade, I maybe had to double the amount of days I had to be invested into this NFT. So you've got to work out, is that 5% more profit worth doubling the duration of the trade? In my eyes, it's not. Because if I can make $50 on this, selling it a bit cheaper, like 0.6 or $48, but I can then double that profit in this time frame. That's more than the profit I had by waiting. So why am I doing that strategy? Again, for these, you could then look at that same return, that same thing. These returns, net margin wise, are pretty decent. Obviously, the amount per trade is not, because they're cheap to buy. So in theory, could I take $20? You could go and do the same thing. You could go into the activity, literally see the trades that were getting bought and going, right, so if I did sell it at that price, how much would I make? $20 instead of 28 and 32. So imagine if I took 24 of these, what would my average days be? Maybe it's going to be 3 or 4 days. And so again, you could potentially do these trades twice in this period, taking $20 each. So you would end up with profit of 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. 80 times 2. So 160, because you would do it twice. 160, but I'm only made 127 here. So in my mind, it's like, if I'm actually going to take smaller amounts of profits, but I can be more, one, I'm more liquid because you're getting that cash back more often. So you've got options rather than being stuck in an NFT for longer. Because really, you don't want to be stuck in it too long, because you're opening yourself up to the risk of it going down. That's why I really only want to be buying stuff when it's already down. And what I mean by that is, for example, looking at this graph, you don't want to be buying it when the average price is at 0.75. You want to be doing what? Buying it when it's at 0.53, 0.54. This is average price. I had a bid, they got accepted at 0.52. This one's a bit, this is at 0.5, so that would have been perfect. But if you're buying at these prices, how long do you have to wait until it goes back up? Well, a while. So you don't necessarily need to catch the bottom, but you also don't want to be buying at the top. And I'm happy to just buy and sell within the median range, which is literally just this middle, like from 8 to 16 here. Just imagine in here, this blue line's in these two. I'm trying to buy just under that line, and I'm trying to sell when it kind of gets to that line. Pretty much it. So not to say that's always going to work, because if I sell that NFT in 2 days, I've got to buy another one, right? Someone's got to accept my wrapped ETH bid or whatever I'm trying to do. Obviously, if it goes down in price, the floor, then I can potentially buy it clean, just with ETH. If it went to like 0.5, 0.52, I can pay a little bit, or a premium, which is only going to be the gas fee, because wrapped ETH is just not with gas. So the only difference would be $5. Does that? But you'll get that NFT quicker by paying $5, because you're buying it instead of waiting for someone to accept bid. Then you're potentially able to make profit on that quicker, because you're not waiting for someone to accept bid. Again, yeah, we're literally talking out the steps here. So, and obviously what the bigger picture is you want to be looking at making, let's say, up to 1 ETH. So we get to an ETH. Perfect. Then what? How much profit have you made so far? Well, not that much. Like 500 quid in like 4 months. No, nothing. It was even worth doing. Well, this is the thing. We're in a bear market, right? That 500 quid in a bull market could be 2 grand, 3 grand, 4 grand. Plus, in a bull market, ETH would go up. So you would make the compound return from the NFTs that you're selling at a faster velocity, because it's a bull run. There's more buying and selling, so the prices fluctuate higher, up and down. So you obviously buy at the bottom, sell quicker at the top, which is normally higher than what you'd be selling it for now. And then also ETH usually would be going up, because people will also see that in the back of their mind. So you'll be able to get a premium in terms of the USD to GBP return value of that sale. So you've got dual compound, which is maybe completely confusing, but hopefully you get what I'm trying to say. And then what would you do? So, then you've got like 1 ETH or something like that. So if we went to, I've got a do not use account, because I saved my watch list in here, just because otherwise you've got to like connect your ledger and all that crap. I've got it in here, right? Please tell me I didn't. Yeah, I have. So then you've got like an ETH. That's just, once we get to that point, what's the play then? What are we going to do? Okay, so now we can look at potentially things that are higher floor price, right? So before we were having to look down here, not necessarily right down here. Again, you can, place things around here. Obviously, it just depends on the prices of the project at the time, right? You're not just going to blindly buy something. You've got to really analyze what's good, bad, or maybe going to be good in the future. But for example, let's just click on Murakami Flower. Okay, so let's have a look. So we've got 0.19 here and then 1.29. Okay, doesn't really mean much, but that one potentially is a good one to buy because it's you're getting a discount and then the floor jumps up. Wrap teeth bids. So you can probably get a wrap teeth bid accepted for 1.076. Let's have a look. Something around here. What's the highest best offer? You could put a bid in for 1.03. Probably get it accepted when the floor is at 1.19. Not only that, the floor actually jumps up considerably here with one sale. And then with a handful of sales, you're up at 0.4. So all we want to do now is click the analysis tab. How many are selling a day? How many are selling a day? About 11. 11 here, but let's have a quick look. This is going to be over the whole day, right? So you got 11, but then if you want to take an average of the last 7 days, which is 110 divided by 7, you got like 15, 10 to 15 a day. So 15 on a good day, 10 on a shitty day, right? It's pretty much how we're going to play that. So let's go to items. So we already established we can probably get a bid in here at 1.05 if you want to be a bit more generous, because obviously you want to be closer to the floor if you can. Otherwise, it's going to take longer for someone to accept the bid. So again, the time aspect that we mentioned. 15 a day at a good day. So you get in at 0. Whatever you got in 0.0. What was it? We're going to do like a scenario here. You get in at 1.05. Okay, it takes you a couple of days to get that. Then the floor goes up a little bit. Let's say it goes up to here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's just go to 10. 8, 9, 10. Because we saw it was roughly 10 a day. Now, yeah, that won't instantly be like every day it's going to pop up here because someone might come back and, when it pops up a bit, someone might come and list at 1.344. But you're going to come here. So then you're going to go ahead and just minus, what's the royalties on this? 7.4, so 10%. So what we're going to do is type in 1.399. So say we were looking to sell it here, right? Minus 10%. And then minus what we bid for that at the beginning, 0. Oh God, that's wrong. Keep working off zeros in my mind because that's what we've been doing. Minus 10%, then minus 1.05. So the profit we've made, potentially just from that one little scenario I've mentioned here, is 0.2 ETH. So what is 0.2 ETH? $268, okay? And you might think, well, how long will that take? Well, it could take a week, but hang on, it could take 2 weeks. But a 1 week would be 0.2 per week would be 0.8 over a month. It's $1,000. Hang on, you just think that's gone crazy a little bit too quick. Okay, well, let's just say we're going to be generous here. We're going to go to 0.4. So it takes 2 weeks to do that whole process. Not to say that after 2 weeks you would be in the same situation on this project. You could buy again. That's why you've got to have many projects that you've researched and understanding so that you can pick the ones based on the situation at the time on that project, right? And then even if you're making 0.3, we're just going to get around the average, 402. Okay, well now that's not too bad. Think about it. $402 a month. Yeah, that's like a crappy part-time income. It's like kind of what example I could give. But you get where I'm going with this, right? And then you had 2 ETH at some point, or 1.5. And you can play a little bit more because and what I would say is like, where could you sell this for? Okay, over the last 90 days, you could potentially sell it at somewhere around, you don't even have to be ballsy on this. It easily goes to 1.5. You could just sell it at 1.399. Literally, that's the play. Come down here, and again, you could even sell it for less, right? Because we just established how much you would be making per trade. Well, you could take half that if you want to try to do that. If you want to try to wrap that through ASAP. You could, and the thing is, it's until you try it, you never know what's going to happen. So you could try both scenarios. You could try the scenario 1, see how that plays out over a month, and then once that scenario is played out, meaning you've got your funds back, because obviously you can't do scenario 2 until you have funds, and then you can play the scenario 2. But it doesn't, obviously there's stuff to do with random variables like timing and stuff that you can never really get because you don't know what other people are going to do. So you might have mixed results because it might be that time that you happen to do it, whenever it is, happen to be the right time to do that strategy. But if you tried that same strategy another time, it may take longer. You see what I'm trying to say? So both strategies are the same but different. And you've got to decide which one you want to do. Or you can just play around with those strategies and then you'll be able to tell for yourself which one makes you feel more confident and you're happier with. For example, would you rather not hold NFTs longer? You'd rather be liquid in ETH because it gives you more options. If so, you're going to always adopt the faster strategy because of that reason. Which will back up why you're doing that. Yeah, do you kind of get what I mean? So I think that's enough for this video because we're literally going into some quite in-depth bits. But not to say that this is the project that I would definitely go for or anything because I have just picked it out randomly, so it's not financial advice, not financial advisor. But something cool that they did do is they actually released like a Tamagotchi game for this, where you can grow your flower, and only holders of this project were actually allowed to buy one, I believe. So yeah, you have to buy it, but it's normally that kind of thing is like a collector's item. So you might be able to buy it $50, but in 5 years could be worth like grand. That kind of thing happens definitely with bored8.com and stuff like that as well. So there are potential extras that can materialize from the more expensive projects, meaning we're not talking about crazy expensive, but we're talking about a bit more than a couple $100, right? Leave the video there, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.